That's it. I can't talk about anything else.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to keep it as focused as possible, and I'm not able to.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Game over. I'm going to go backwards, right?
Okay.
To this portion, right?
Trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
All right. What's your take on this one?
So it's a little bit hard hearing it through the space. I might have to pull up the script. But it sounded like that was the section where it talks about not to control context. But
all right, well, let me ask you a favor, man. All right, if you are indeed on Bluetooth, are you able, right? Are you able to just do speaker? Like what phone do you have?
I could. I'm using an iPhone, but I have it's actually like an actual headset. But I think it's Twitter. I don't have any issue on any other app with this headset. So 1 second. I'll just use speaker. The issue is Twitter.
That's so much better. That's so much better. That's so much better.
It's coming through speaker. Yeah, it's an issue with Twitter Spaces. I don't know what the issue is. Because it don't matter what noise canceling headset I use, it just seems to be some kind of an issue with it. It's been happening as of like the past month. So, but go ahead and go. I think you were getting ready to ask the question in a different way, or we're just keeping it to the audio. I'm sorry.
We may, if you can probably DM me your because you have PSN, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
You have a PS5?
That's right.
All right. So we may have to do a part 2. This shit is an absolute disaster, but I'm trying to salvage it.
No, that's okay, man. It happens. Technical difficulties. That's what I was going to say. Discord might have been better because I haven't been hearing or on my end either many sound issues.
Problem with it is you need like a demographic for, I'm trying to keep it open for people, but I know it probably irritated DJ, but it's like, I'm trying to focus on like
one, because it's hard. It's a Kojima rabbit hole as well.
No, well, this wasn't really a rabbit hole. That was totally off topic. And typically when he goes in there, it gets off topic as it is. And I don't want to be rude or anything like that. I don't know how else to say it. I need to keep on topic. I cannot be in these spaces for too long.
I get you. That makes perfect sense because it's hard to cover all of this. This 10 minutes of AI alone is a mouthful to talk about, and it's going to tie into so many different things. If you go all over the place, then it just goes all over the place. That's really all there is to it.
So I'm gonna play it back and see if it. First of all, let's go back just a little bit and let me see how well you can hear it. All right.
Too easy.
All right. Let me see here.
History.
Is it something that should not be passed on? Should that information be left at the mercy of nature?
How does it sound?
We've always kept records of our lives.
Better.
Through words, pictures, symbols, from tablets to books.
But not all the information was inherited by later generations. A small percentage of the whole was selected and processed, then passed on. Not unlike genes, really.
That's what history is, Jack.
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
Now I'm gonna stop it there, right, and just let everyone know, right, what we're trying to do here, in case you just jumped in, right? Okay, so 55 seconds. Let me write that down. Essentially, what we're trying to do is understand this conversation that was done in Metal Gear Solid 2 towards the end of the game. I can tell you right now, this is how Metal Gear Solid changed my life. That phrasing is what they did. Now the question here is this. We are basically evolving. What we chose to use for evolution was technology. Now we can communicate our thoughts to billions of people in an instant. And there's only one problem with that. We don't have what it takes to basically, we as humans, we are flawed. And so we become biased and we start throwing shit out on the internet. You see it in the gaming space where you have people that like Xbox will sit there and they will find the worst light of something and then claim it to be a truth 100% of the time. Same thing with people that like PlayStation. They will literally, right, find a snippet on Digital Foundry and find a frame drop and use that as their truth. We can't be trusted with that type of power. And the governments around the world know this. The fear that we're dealing with now is AI, because there's so much information, right? Let's just say, for the sake of it, 6 billion people have access to computers or phones or some sort of device that that throws information out online. And if you want people to have freedom, you can, but we're not responsible enough to hold back on information. We're just not responsible enough for that. So just like with anything in the world, you get AI to help you out because we just can't cover the amount of people. That's the fear of it. So go on, Game Over. Would you have to? How do you interpret that speech?
So the main way that I interpret it is just quite simply that there is an abundance of information becoming available, and when you think about what the world used to be versus what the world has become, I'm going to give a quick little analogy just to kind of better give this example, right? You would hear about an earthquake in Japan because someone traded a fish that went to another trader, that went to another trader, that went to another trader, and that was a passage of mouth, word of mouth, and that information would hit you possibly months later down the line. Whereas now, in the new age, if there is an earthquake in Japan, you could find out before some residents in the affected area could find out. We are in an area where we are in a new age where information is flowing so fast and so abundant. There is no longer a filter. There is no longer a, form of cleaning anything up, right? That's just another way of saying filter, right? I know, but we just don't have that. And then, like you said, one of the things you mentioned earlier, it's like the biases that we have, we are incapable of, as human beings, using information fairly, collecting, saving information fairly. For one reason or another, you're going to think something is more important than another, and me or someone else may take a problem with that. Like it gets really convoluted the more you talk about it, but it's just quite literally talking about how we have so much information. Like I don't even know how to properly say it. I mean, it's like, what do they say? How much hours of data is uploaded to YouTube per hour?
There's
right?
like billions per hour, and that's what this particular phrase is talking about. And we give all of our information to AI. You know what I mean? You go on PSN or Xbox, man. It's looking at what you're buying and creating a personality profile, and will start to suggest things to you. The same thing with Twitter. The same thing what they call the algorithm. The algorithm has to be
nothing but an AI.
It's an AI. It has to be intelligent enough to understand what the context is. And that's how they filter things out. Eventually, when things, this is a slippery fucking slope, and we're dealing with things that is going to be a massive problem. You know what I mean? This is one of the reasons why people have an issue with Andrew Tate. I don't really, like, personally, no one should care about what one single man says, right? But the influence of one single man can't be denied, or one single woman can't be denied. And it's like
go ahead.
he could just keep throwing shit out online, and if they have a confirmation bias, that's a wrap. That's what makes this dangerous. And now I'm not talking about Andrew Tate in general. There's so many different things that are much, much worse than Andrew Tate.
I was just going to put it in simplest terms. Can you imagine if Hitler with his skill set existed today, right? And I feel like to a degree there will always be some sort of pushback, because even with Andrew Tate, there is a level of pushback, and the capabilities of the people who follow him, it does only go so far. But it's a horrifying thought to think about what could be achieved if this man could have reached more people than what he could at the time, and what would have happened if more of those people sided with his beliefs and then also would have followed through with his actions. It's horrifying to think how far things could have gone versus what we know.
It happened back in the day, and they call it propaganda, posters, and all sorts of things, and then consequences.
And that's just one man.
Social consequences.
Social construct or concept. Okay, that's my bad.
So the thing about it is, right? For instance, the government had their hand. If you look at Twitter files, right, they had their hands in terms of kind of quelling information on the needle, right? Now we're starting to figure out things aren't, and you can find this out on your own, but that's the problem, right? Who cares if you're throwing information out there? No one cares. We should be able to do it, right? The problem here is that we have so much information, it creates confusion. And it misguides you, or you don't know where to go. You know, now we're starting to see ramifications of people that have taken it and had a reaction to it, or you had a situation where this information was blocked. Any information was blocked.
We are also starting to see, because it's kind of a double-edged sword, information is becoming free, and what was a telltale sign is something that I guess you could say was practiced throughout history. When you censor information or lock up information, the issue is that if you cannot kill it at its source, and if at that source you cannot confirm, verify, and just know without the slightest doubt that it did not go to another ear, then you didn't properly silence it. But if someone can get a whiff that it was silenced, that makes that bit of information that much more interesting. But now, if I allow you to put that same amount of information out there, and I let it get lost in the sauce with millions upon millions of data, hours, verbiage, whatever, I don't need to suppress it, because it will get suppressed within other content by itself. And then the content that I want you to absorb, that I want you to eat up, rather it be propaganda or just a distraction, I get to curate that through my AI, through my algorithm, through my whatever. Like, it's just, it works in so many ways that it kind of turned into
its own beast. It created its own entity, because again, somebody has to have some sort of high moral ground and say, I don't think this information should be propagated. Y'all don't know what you're doing. And eventually you give parameters to an AI, it's going to have your influence because you created the parameters, which is what this AI in MGS2 is talking about. Let's proceed.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context.
The digital society furthers human flaws and selectively rewards development of convenient half-truths.
Half-truths. It rewards convenient half-truths. Confirmation bias is what people are actually looking for. Say we talk about red pill shit, right? Where the rhetoric in the red pill space is women ain't shit, right? And they also all this shit about how women are dogging people or whatever the case is, right? And let's just say the person is an incel and he really just don't get no play. He's really a simp, and he gets a hold of this information and he's like, no wonder why I couldn't get girls, because of this. You know what I mean? That's why I'm doing this. And it becomes...
And the algorithm feeds him more information that furthers to support that narrative that he's created for himself, his own coping mechanism, which then sends him down a further rabbit hole and then starts feeding him people who create that content, and it creates the other word I was going to do was curates, right? A vacuum for him to continue to absorb this content and no longer take accountability, because again, to be accountable for your own actions or your own fails would not be rewarding, exactly what you were saying.
So let me balance this out, right? Let's talk about on a woman's side. Everybody's a 10. We know that's not true. Absolutely not true. And in a society, everything gets ranked and rated. Food places, Yelp, all this other stuff. Why is it different for a person? Everybody gets rated, but then on top of it, the rhetoric is everybody's a 10. Every woman is a 10. You should have confidence. And that leads them into that particular rabbit hole, and that feeds the algorithm. These particular people that coagulates on the internet, that personality creates these personalities for the AI. And when you get that, it just starts to snowball. This is how the red pill content started to snowball and create an issue.
And I wanna add in, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So something about what you just said there is a perfect example of that information creating its own context in the world we live in. You're a little bit older than me, so you may or may not know about this, right? The fact of the matter is the everyone is a 10 thing wasn't originally everyone is a 10. It was just quite simply everyone is beautiful in their own way. What someone sees as a 10, right? Let's say, for the sake of conversation, Andrew Tate, his 10 may not be your 10, right? And that's perfectly fine, because there will be no objectively most beautiful man, most beautiful woman in the world, because we are all different and we all have a different bias. So there is no way for there to be an objectively most beautiful woman or man in the world. Someone will always be more beautiful than someone else, no matter what, which kind of makes it's kind of weird, because when you think about it, and it goes on forever and ever, no one's ever number one. No one's ever really top G, right? But even now, when you just brought that up, a lot of people don't even know it for is it cherish your own beauty. You're going to be someone's pick, right? Now it's just, everybody think they a 10. You see what I'm saying?
It created a narcissistic society where you feel like your opinion matters. I see it every day on Twitter where I'm like, they need their whole social card revoked. They're saying a whole bunch of crazy ass shit, and they need to be. I can't say that though, but I really, in my head, be like, they don't deserve to put information. They don't deserve to have a platform because of the crazy shit that they're saying. That's my moral high ground, right? And again, that everyone's beautiful, more mutated into everybody's a 10. And then, you know what I mean? Women ain't shit and I'm going my own way. Mutates to, I really hate them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing to keep it.
It turns to something else.
There's nothing to check it. And then guess what? Here's another thing too. When everybody is throwing their truths out there, guess what? Humans are petty beings. It's tit for tat. We got whataboutisms, right? And then we try to throw the same type of stones in the opposite. The opposite. Somebody has fire, we try to throw ice. You know what I mean? You know, that's how it is. So there's always going to be a counter to something that's out there. All this feminine shit that happened with all these talk shows shitting on men created the manosphere. You know what I'm saying? So now there's a back and forth going on, and we're just keeping it at this particular level, right? It's so much information coming from both sides, right? That anybody that is trying to make their way through society is lost. And they are going to beg whatever entity it is that filters society. Please, can you sort this shit out for me? I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to do research. And that makes people very sheepish. And it just overall exacerbates the issue. Now you don't even have your own mind to make up. You want somebody else to do it because it's just too much information to trudge through.
But now the wonder is it already happening? And I think that it already is.
It's super happening, yo. Period, point blank. This shit is fucking outrageous right now. Let's continue.
Oh, go ahead.
Just look at the strange juxtapositions of morality around you.
Billions spent on new weapons in order to humanely murder other humans.
All right, let's pause that. Billions spent on new weapons in order to humanely murder other humans. We gotta kill people in a nice way, like bio warfare, shit like that. This is what they're talking about there. Remember, this game came out 22 years ago, before YouTube and social media, essentially.
Rights of criminals are given more respect than the privacy of their victims.
Although there are
Now, that is happening in California right now, where you have people that are sex offenders, right? That are getting more rights, their privacy. You know what I mean? Now they feel like it's not fair that I'm put on blast, and now the government has to try to organize a way to make everything fair, which that's not how life works. What do you gotta say about this? Game over.
So, 2 points I would hit really quick is between the billions of dollars to kill each other. It goes a couple ways, right? I would say less of biowarfare and just more the way they say our rifles and guns are meant to be more humane than traditional methods of killing. But that one's not the big one. The big one is more so of the, as you say, sex offenders and predators getting more privacy because they feel as though it's not fair. It's really weird how we've allowed it to happen, like not even in the sense of AI, because you would think in the ideal of protecting each other and protecting our society that we weren't allowed to go that way, but yet the way we've rewarded so many other ignorant things, you're kind of backed into a corner. So this was inevitable when you really think about it, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Right. And here's the thing that's interesting about that, right? Let me try to turn off the suppression just a little bit. The thing that's interesting about that particular commentary, right? And we're going to go over this video again. We're going to really consolidate this shit and have like a better way of like really having our thoughts out there. This is kind of like a thought experiment right now. Anyway, you see how crazy AI is right now? We can't even say the word. We got to say grape and all these other like revisions, because that changes the algorithm just by saying it. We're already in the age AI is already here. We don't know to what extent it is. We're going to continue.
There are people suffering in poverty. Huge donations are made to protect endangered species. Everyone grows up being told the same thing.
Be nice to other people.
But beat out the competition.
You're special. Believe in yourself and you will succeed.
But it's obvious from the start that only a few can succeed.
You exercise your right to freedom, and this is the result. All rhetoric to avoid conflict and protect each other from hurt. The untested truths, spun by different interests, continue to churn and accumulate in the sandbox of political correctness and value systems.
Now, he says political correctness to make sure no one gets their feelings hurt. There's crazy juxtapositions on values and shit that don't even make any fucking sense all together, because there's so many different interests that will collide and definitely not mesh. What do you guys say about that? Game over?
So that one is, I don't even know how to unpack it, so I won't say too much on it, but it's just, man, I got so many thoughts going through my head, and I'm just thinking about like how we've engineered this algorithm in our country and our life to make things PC, to make things okay, to make everybody happy with what's happening, even though that's never going to be a reality, because in reality, everyone is different. Everyone has a different belief. Everyone has different values. So we can't achieve something that is literally impossible. That would be a hive mind, for lack of better words. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's crazy to think that we're trying to achieve something that is physically impossible. A hive mind consciousness where no one is hurt, no one is offended. We all have the same beliefs, but let's protect each other's beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, how can we be one mind but also protect different mindsets?
To get everybody to be on the same page. See, and what that requires is the brainwashing of a lot of people. Put it that way. If everybody can be brainwashed to believe a certain idea, which is to be basically neutral, you can never achieve it. You would have to remove all personality and just be a robot. There's no way of achieving that. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that goes into the fear of when you allow AI to be its own thing and you give it its objective, it will accomplish it. And if its objective is to get rid of humanity to achieve that so-called peace, to it, it's just an objective. It's no evil conscience, good conscience. It's just the objective that it's trying to achieve, and it's going to get there how it needs to get there. It's a lot to unpack.
This is a dangerous, we're already there. You know what I'm saying? We are already there. We're already there. This is the reason why everything is so free and whatever the case is. And we really do believe in it. That we're going into a certain place. Notice how sexual orientation, right? All of that shit. The neutral state of that is to basically not have any allegiance to anything. Essentially just be a blob of consciousness. Don't have any particular sex. This is why when you go on fucking TikTok and people will be like, hi, I'm non-binary, he, him, they, and all this other shit all combined in the thing. And it's like, what entity is that? You know, you're not on any fucking side at this point in time. And if the AI is looking at it, and look, trust and believe the AI is in full force, because how do you curate trillions of fucking ideas? How do you curate that? It's like no fucking way of curating this. You need help. Continue.
Everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right.
Not even natural selection can take place here. The world is being engulfed in truth.
And this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
We're trying to stop that from happening.
It's our responsibility as rulers. Just as in genetics, unnecessary information and memory must be filtered out to stimulate the evolution of the species.
All right. What do you got to say about that?
So, I don't know, man.
It just keeps getting fucking complicated. It just keeps getting more and more complicated the more we go on.
We might have to do 30-second bursts, because like that last one is such a overwhelming fucking statement. Like, he's stamping out to, like, God, I can't even repeat it properly right now because I'm just like, yo, like, to stimulate evolution, like, can you imagine, like, being eliminated because you're not conforming to a specific form of ideology like you should? Like, that's the ramifications. Like, Jesus Christ, it's like conform or fucking die. Like, that's...
And what's happening is that it's easier to let somebody think for yourself, because the things that are in our minds has atrophied. We don't want to think anymore. It's too much. You do it. Remember back in the day, I'm a 38-year-old man, right? I used to remember every single phone number in my small circle. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, because why? You don't need to.
I don't need to.
The option was introduced. You don't have to remember a phone number.
Now I can just rely on the computer to do it. You know spelling, right? You used to know how to spell well, right? Relatively. You couldn't find it. You got to do work to go grab the fucking dictionary or whatever to find it or sound it out. Now I don't gotta do that. Hey Siri, how do you spell such and such? That's how pampered and decadent we are. And another thing that bothers me a lot too is it's so crazy when it comes to these truths. Now you can be obese and you could be healthy. And if you don't like it, you're fat shaming. What do you say?
I say everyone's right.
Everyone's right.
Colonel Campbell said, everyone's right, no one's wrong.
All right, continue.
And you think you're qualified to decide what's necessary and not?
Absolutely. Who else could wade through the sea of garbage you people produce, retrieve valuable truths, and even interpret their meaning for later generations?
That's what it means to create context.
I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
But is that even your own idea?
Or something Snake told you.
That's the proof of your incompetence right there. You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
Care to talk about that? What's the matter? Game over. Cat got your tongue?
About that, I was talking before I hit unmute. So, I mean, the proof is like right there in the pudding. He says it right there. You know, humankind lacks the qualifications to exercise free will. And another thing about this that I was going to point out earlier, the AI almost sounds alien in a sense, like it's a different living being. And maybe it's because it's a type of artificial intelligence, is a type of living that we just simply can't comprehend. But nonetheless, I mean, I get lost in the sauce, right? It's not wrong. And when you talk about, like how we said, just on one platform alone, you said, what was it, 1 billion hours is uploaded hourly, like from all the different individuals that can upload to YouTube. And that's not even counting AI generated content, right? Bot generated content, right? Like, it's insane. Who can go through all that? Who could possibly filter, review all of that? No one can. The only one that can is something of a higher intelligence, rather it be artificial or extraterrestrial. Like, it's insane. And it's very clear, based on this game when it came out in 2001 and based on events now, that it's already been decided for us in this real world that we cannot decide for ourselves. We cannot exercise a proper free will, and we will not be allowed to, because we cannot be trusted to.
We really can't. We really can't. And it's crazy because this is a hard pill to swallow. This isn't an easy thing to swallow. You can even see within this space how it makes people feel uncomfortable. They can't take this fucking truth. It's just creepy to them. It's going to make you feel like you don't have control at all.
And the reality is because I'm not going to say that we do not have control. We do not have a lot of control.
This is the perfect age of getting all of your information. And you better get it while the getting is good, because very soon you're not going to have this luxury of just grabbing information. It's already happening with Google. Google will filter out shit that you should search for. Already. It's already known to go to different search engines because Google has a certain interest in what's creating this interest. Well, people in power. Eventually, they're not going to be able to control all of this shit. And they are going to relinquish this shit to the AI. Let's continue.
That's not true. I have the right.
Does something like a self exist inside of you?
That which you call self serves as nothing more than a mask to cover your own being.
In this era of ready-made truths, self is just something used to preserve those positive emotions that you occasionally feel.
Another possibility is that self is a concept you conveniently borrowed under the logic that would endow you with some sense of strength.
That's crap!
Is it? Would you prefer that someone else tell you? All right, then. Explain it to him.
Jack, you're simply the best, and you got there all by yourself.
Oh, what happened? Do you feel lost? Why not try a bit of soul searching?
Don't think you'll find anything, though.
What do you gotta say about that?
It's just ominous. Like, and it's ominous. It's like we said, it's a tough pill to swallow, and just I don't even have words. I say just let it play out a little bit more, because right now I don't even have words to speak on it. There's only so much of it I can give a continuous commentary on, and some of it is just accepting that reality that we live in. And, you know, at this rate, I'm 100% positive this artificial intelligence, the algorithm, the software, the program, whatever you want to call it, it's already self-sufficient. We are not, I don't believe there is an individual that is controlling it.
Imagine hearing this in 2001, in my case 2003,
Yeah,
and not
it feels really surreal to have lived in a day and age where there was no algorithm that was watching me, or at least we were aware of, because it's really hard to say how early any of this was into play. But in my circumstance, me and you both, we lived in a day and age where this was not a thing. And then I played this game in 2001 and then got to pay attention to the world and see it come to fruition. And it's frankly just horrifying, because it's like, well, didn't think this was going to happen, and here the fuck we are. It's happening. And it's like, how do you turn it off? How do you go back? How do you trust that it is, in fact, turned off? Like, it's, I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know a lot, which I know can be frustrating to anyone listening, but it's just because I don't want to say the incorrect thing, but it's just absolutely insane.
back in the day, the astute wouldn't be so easily controlled, right? Somebody that can already feel that something was wrong with our reality. They weren't controlled by the things that were in the world back in the day when we were in the 90s, right? This is why you call it TV programming, right? This is why you call it, television and programs. They are literal programs, by the way, that controls biological computers, us. Your ideas that you thought you liked those things. You thought you liked that music. How do you know you like that music? Because of you. Not many people have that particular ability to really differentiate what is being told to them and what they actually, like, they don't know themselves. And it's way worse now than it was back then. If I heard something, because I was out of touch with the programming that they call TV, if it sounded good, I liked it. And to be honest with you, hey, you can put messages in music too. You know, what's that one song by 3 6 Mafia? What is it? Stay high. That's why I stay high. And then people are just sitting there. You hear that enough, and you start smoking. There's so many people that are smoking weed nowadays because they were told to.
Yeah, you're talking about just general subliminal messaging, if I'm picking this up correctly.
Yes.
And, one of the things, too, when it comes to programming is how often it really is. Like, and you can be self-aware, even in today's age, as well as back then. People were very self-aware. And honestly, the sad thing is a lot of those folks get called conspiracy theories unjustifiably. But, it's kind of like, if anyone wants to run this experiment and you're listening, right, I implore you to go to YouTube Shorts, and I want you to scroll for about 10 minutes and tell me what you see. And take note if you like anything. What is the nature? What is the genre? What is the content, right? Is it comedic? Is it food? Is it what is it, right? And then I want you to intentionally go and like some things, right? And it could be something that you personally agree with or feel, or it could just simply be because you're running this experiment. And I'll give the results of mine because I did it recently, right? So I was trying to understand the fascination with Andrew Tate and how people would become so captured by his words and what he was saying and what he was doing. So I was like, I just don't understand. This is clearly just dumb, hateful, borderline misogynistic rhetoric coming from a guy who really doesn't have a reason to be saying any of this when you look at his personal life, right? And so what I started doing, I like a couple clips that talked about what he was talking about, right? Then I noticed something. Very quickly, within 2 minutes, not even, maybe less, I'd even say within a minute, I very quickly started getting recommended other content that was like, oh, cheating wife, cheating girlfriend gets caught, girl turns down guy until she sees he has a Ferrari. Those are immediately the shorts that came up right after. And then it went right back, and then it started going deeper down a rabbit hole, right? At first, it was just a little bit of, just above the surface level, kind of sexist, kind of disrespectful, kind of one-sided. Then it just went full-blown. Women ain't shit. They hoes. They're children. They're stupid. They're into materialistic. This is what you gotta do, have, etc. And I'm like, this is how I get to, because some fucking insecure guy or girl is gonna click one video and like it because they can relate to that message. And then slowly but surely, it's giving you more things to derail you and take you off the deep end. And it does the exact same thing with politics, the exact same thing with music, the exact same thing with drugs. Like, it's literally just going to feed you different.
Now, here's the thing. Before we go on,
fast it happens too. Like,
I will say this, right? Here's the thing. I would say this. There's a lot of things that Andrew Tate says that is beneficial to the sickness that we are dealing with nowadays. As a man, you can't be submissive. We're not built to be submissive. That's one of the things, right? That doesn't say that you're supposed to treat another person like shit either. But also, there's other layers of situations where a woman would tell you, right, that she doesn't like a guy to treat her nice. She goes after guys that literally says, I'm a red flag, and she'll go after that dude. No one is exempt from this trash that is thrown out on the internet. Women want to sit there and be hypergamous, right? And they want to sit there and have somebody confirm their bias, that I deserve better. I deserve all the money. And then the same thing on the flip side, there's confirmation bias and say that these chicks are just trying to use me and they should be treated accordingly. Neither man or woman, right, is exempt from this. Now, one of the things that you need to tell yourself is look at 90s talk shows and how much they trashed men. The same way that men are trashing women now. They trash men every day, all day. Every single sitcom, the husband is an idiot.
Idiot, doesn't listen, doesn't know how to cook, doesn't know
how to do anything, is submissive. And then you hear phrases like happy wife, happy life. Like that's a horrible thing to say and try to live by.
Happy house is the appropriate equivalent for anyone listening.
So that is the problem. If somebody has to say happy wife, happy life, that means that I have to do anything that my wife says in order for me to be happy. That is not a way of living either. This is why this rhetoric has spread. The same thing with drugs, right? People smoked weed when I was younger, but it was never to this level. Like, they just really, like, now you got YouTube ads talking about something. You could get these gummies and shit like that. I don't smoke weed. Why the fuck you keep telling me this shit? I don't want to smoke that shit or eat gummies. But I guess the lesser mind would see this shit all the time and be like, oh, it does make me relax? Really? Instead of solving the actual issue. You know what I mean? And maybe you just need an outlet. You
I think
know,
what I would also add to that as well is, I wouldn't even say that it didn't happen as much, but kind of like how I brought up that example about with the fishermen and trading goods and information spreading. Now you can see what's going on. If some dude in China starts growing a new type of mushroom to get high a certain type of way, he puts that shit on TikTok, it goes viral. You're going to see about it tomorrow, if not today.
oh, guess
right?
what?
Versus
Guess what? They
30
can they
years ago.
they can control their own algorithm. They can put whatever they want at the top of the list.
Oh yeah, for TikTok, yeah.
I mean, you can do it with any other social media as long as you pay for it, right? Because now you can pay for it. Well, look how crazy it is nowadays. To protect people's feelings, they removed the dislike button, what was it, a year and a half ago? To stop people from persuading others. It's fucking crazy. And then the regular people signed off on it. Like, that's a normal fucking thing. What that means, that you can't even dislike a video, it simply means that there's only one way of thinking. You can continue.
Ironic that although self is something that you yourself fashion, every time something goes wrong, you turn around and place the blame on something else.
It's not my fault. It's not your fault.
In denial, you simply resort to looking for another, more convenient truth in order to make yourself feel better.
Leaving behind in an instant the so-called truth you once embraced.
Should someone like that be able to decide what is truth?
Should someone like you even have the right to decide?
You've done nothing but abuse your freedom.
You don't deserve to be free.
We're not the ones smothering the world. You are.
The individual is supposed to be weak, but far from powerless. A single person has the potential to ruin the world.
And the age of digitized communication has given even more power to the individual. Too much power for an immature species.
Building a legacy involves figuring out what is wanted and what needs to be done for that goal. All this you used to struggle with. Now we think for you.
We are your guardians, after all.
You want to control human thought, human behavior?
Of course. Anything can be quantified nowadays.
I mean, the more you hear it, the more it's a lot of what's been going on for the past 50 years. Anything can be quantified, and it has been quantified since before I was born and since before you were born. The sad reality of this is that none of it is new outside of where we get into literal AI algorithm and technology. Outside of that, all of these things, to a degree, already existed. And, you know, the simple fact that regardless, and I think it's even worse, I would say, in the past, like when you look at history, the world was far worse than what it is today. Can you imagine, right? Before you could hear Hitler's speech, see his video, before that technology was, number one, not only existing, right? Because some of that technology was all brand new. Remember that? It was brand new technologies back then, right? So it wasn't widely accessible. He gathered that much support to do as much damage as he did. That is absolutely asinine when you think about that. It's insane that one person was able to achieve that with the limited technology available across the world and across that country. Like, it's insane. And not only that, his flawed thinking was able to go unchallenged, at least to a degree, to stop him from gaining the power that he had, because most things can be stopped when it's challenged. And somebody's like, wait a minute, hold up, that sounds fucking stupid, and here's why. Like, it's just crazy to imagine, not even just him, but many others, you know? Like, it's fucking, Stalin and a couple others. It was a lot of crazy shit that happened in the mid-1900s, and, like, it's insane.